Thank you very much, Robert, for the introduction, and welcome everybody. I want to thank the Minister for being here this morning. I also want to thank Robert and Avril and now Claire for the kind invitation to be with you to show the context of the Build Digital project as one of the 7 priority actions identified in the KPMG report. And as the Minister said earlier, and indeed Pat said it, the speed of reaction of the public sector, in this case, the Department of Public Expenditure Reform, was quite phenomenal. KPMG report was published in June 2020, and 2 months later, I was in place as the chair to implement that report. I don't know of any public sector initiative, or indeed private sector initiative, that is better than that. So beat that, eat your hearts out, everybody else. I want to thank Pat Lucy as the chair of the industry group, Avril, obviously, who is gone to a different role, and especially Robert and Suzanne, who are really the foundation and living lab of this project on a daily basis. So I'm conscious of time. I don't want to duplicate what Robert has said, but I would say of all of the 7 actions, they're connected in some way, and taken together when delivered, they will transform the Irish sector from its, let's face it, low-tech reputation when measured internationally. And that's what the KPMG report said. Of the 7 actions, 4 of them will make the most immediate and tangible impact when implemented. These are the Build Digital project, which I won't go into further because you're hearing a lot about it today. But secondly, the new Construction Technology Centre established by the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, which is led by the University of Galway and their collaborating universities. Also, the new Modern Methods of Construction, not project, not centre, but ecosystem, which needs to be built to encourage off-site construction, away from the weather, quality control and other difficulties of on-site construction, and to move to the use of lower carbon materials. And finally, I want to mention e-planning, to digitize the planning permission application system, which has had its challenges, I can tell you in more detail shortly, but it's moving forward. And I hope by the end of next year, there will be digital applications available to be made from every county in Ireland. At the moment, there are 2 counties on board, 7 more are coming on board, and it's a national effort. In September 2020, an organisational and government structure was set up by DEPA with the involvement and collaboration of other relevant government departments. You can see the 7 priority actions in the different colours, and the action leaders who are appointed to deliver each action, which 2 years later have proven to be successful in expediting all their actions. They're the 7 actions in colour. Up to autumn 2021, the direction of travel of the project was clearly centred on the delivery of the National Development Plan, and indeed still is. But this was joined by the Housing for All ambition, whole of government strategy, both of which are now in progress. In fact, the National Development Plan launched in early 2018 and was reviewed in 2020, as you know, and greatly increased in size due to the very strong challenges added to the NDP in terms of housing and climate. And with the result of that was that the subgroup on top there doubled in size in terms of the government departments and the agencies that had to be involved to deliver the current mandate of the National Development Plan of 165 billion expenditure, as the Minister said. I should say that the action leaders on all of these, they meet every month, and the subgroup itself meets every 6 weeks or so with myself as chair. On the second organogram, you can see clearly the individual 7 priority actions, but also the cross-cutting actions on the side of housing and sustainability. So very briefly, priority 1 has been subsumed into action 4, which is the Construction Technology Centre recently set up. Priority 2 is in hand under David Brown of the RIAI, who was complimented earlier for the engagement with the project, and is currently focusing on a new construction sector circular economy roadmap. Now, what's that about? That's about the fact that the amount of waste created by the construction industry is 3 or 4 times the amount of waste created by households and commercial enterprises in this country. We produce 2 to 3 million tons of waste in our houses and in our industry. At the height of the Celtic Tiger, that figure was 17 million tons. It was so much that the Dublin City Council traffic bylaws had to be amended to include the word skip in traffic violations. And we're not back there, thankfully, yet, but that amount of construction waste is growing again. And it is the most recyclable waste on earth. So it's something we have to really deal with. And coupled with that, I might remind the audience that the construction industry is responsible for the very same amount of carbon emissions as agriculture. Although you don't see that or hear about it in the press, 37% of all carbon emissions and carbon footprint, 37% is produced by agriculture, yes, and we hear a lot about it, but 37% is also produced by this sector. Priority 3 is the modern methods of construction to encourage off-site or off-site manufacture of modern components for housing infrastructure. To ensure we get this right, the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment have correctly set up an MMC leadership and integration group to assist the progressive development of this new technology, which together with building information modeling will combine to deliver housing and especially large-scale construction faster, more sustainably and with lower cost. Priority action 4, this action is the Construction Technology Centre with the imminent appointment of a centre manager, and it will be available as a centre of excellence for research in Ireland. Priority action 5, which you don't hear that much about, is to build a construction digital skill net to increase the numbers and skills of our construction workforce. This, of course, is helping further with the overall holistic building of skills across the entire economy, fronted by the Department of Further and Higher Education, Research and Innovation and Science with SOLAS and the Education Training Boards around Ireland. This is a part of the industry that I'm only getting to know. I'm not familiar with it, but the more I see of what's happening in that space, the more impressed I am. But I want to say that the major challenge to skills in this country is numbers. And to be very blunt about it, what it now needs is double and treble the gender balance that we have in the construction industry. It needs to be 40%, even though it's only 10%, because half the population happen to be female. And it's an economic value proposition. This isn't about genders. It's about, you know, it's about the war against waste, the war against inefficiency and so on. And I'm happy to say that this project will lead in that respect because it's going to become easier with the introduction of desktop digital skills and what I would call the industrialization of construction, moving to off-site friendly, working friendly factory conditions. Using further on robotics and virtual reality and all the very high-tech skills, which will get them away from the sites themselves. It'll reduce the number of people employed on the sites, but those people will be employed in the factories, which will make the products. So we need to industrialize construction. And I don't think it's recognized properly as an industry, like other industries. And certainly up to the Housing for All strategy, it wasn't grant aided until the pivot, until the Enterprise Ireland mandate was changed to also assist domestic construction rather than export companies. Priority action 6 is to digitize the planning permission application system. That actually is very challenging. Why? Because 31 local authorities, they have 6 document management systems. They have 3 or more proprietary software systems, and they all now must speak to each other on a county by county basis onto one national platform. Already, pilot counties, Tipperary and Galway, are now accepting digital applications. And in fact, the take-up of that within a matter of months is over 60%. As what happened with when driving licenses and all the other stuff went digital. It started around 30% overnight. And then it migrates very, very quickly within 6 to 9 months to 60%. And in the last number of weeks, we've added 7 more rural counties, and they are in alphabetical order: Carlow, Kilkenny, Laois, Mayo, Monaghan, Waterford, and Westmeath. The most difficult challenge now is bringing both major local authorities on board, because they're on different portals. And some of the local authorities within those cities are actually on separate portals also. And I won't go into detail on that. It should be noted that not every citizen will be able to access the new systems because of lack of digital knowledge. So it'll still be legal to submit hard copy planning applications and until the overall transformation is fully in place. But we're confident that transformation will be much faster than we anticipated. Priority Action 7 is the Build Digital project to digitize the construction industry using building information modeling. The deeper funding through grant agreement was set up earlier this year with the project awarded to TU Dublin and CETA, supported by the technological universities in Cork, Tralee, West and Northwest, namely the Munster Technological University and the Atlantic Technological University. A countrywide baseline survey, as Robert said, has just been completed to establish the current baseline for 2022, so that in 2023, we will see what the gain in digital construction is, and to build on that in terms of the pillars, which, as we know, are leadership, training, standards, and procurement. And the final slide, or the next slide, is actually the one I want to spend most time on, and that is the stairway. Where is the country in terms of building information modeling, or what value has it building information modeling? Well, we're at 3D, 3 dimensions. We get the shape of the building right. We make sure that the doors and windows that are delivered to the site actually fit in the holes in the wall. No, folks, that isn't good enough. Do you know that we bring it to 4D, which we're not, 5D, 6D, and 7D, 4, delivered on program, 5, delivered within the cost budget, 6, what's the carbon number of it? And that's embodied carbon, not embedded carbon, by the way. And most importantly at the moment, energy costs. The cost of running an infrastructure, a piece of building, be it a project building or a piece of, Irish water infrastructure or air grid or whatever else, the cost of running that in energy costs is 80% of the total life cycle cost. And only 5% is built into, only 5% goes on design. So we need to get away in construction and design from a race to the bottom, because that's where the money can be saved going forward. So we need to get up that ladder very quickly with the assistance of the Build Digital project. And, is this humming greatly in other countries? In Scandinavia, yes. UK, no. United States, no. We could be the leaders in this if we get the future right in terms of, and there's a resilience and a quality in this project that I've never seen before. So taken together then, BIM gives an overall construction and asset management system to control the program and cost of buildings, regardless of size, together with the future carbon emissions and energy costs. But they must be calculated at the design stage and integrated into the design so that the gains in productivity and sustainability will be realized when the building is completed, but more importantly, 20 and 30 years afterwards, in terms of the costs of running the building, in terms of energy, in terms of transport. And that's about electrifying the economy in other ways, as we know. So finally, in conclusion, the CSG Innovation and Digital Adoption subgroup will deliver high quality construction with program and cost control, depending on the contractual models used and advocated by government. And I really want to welcome what the Minister has said about procurement this morning. It does, however, need the incentive of a government mandate on major projects, time though, to ensure that the mandate introduction is signaled well to the industry in advance of its date of introduction. I'm sure that's what has been planned. And I'll finish there, and thank you very much for your time.